What if I already started a claim on my own? Can I still hire you?
Yes, you can definitely still hire us, and we would recommend that you do. Insurance companies make a lot of money, and they're very good at doing that by limiting the amount they pay to injured individuals. So even if you've started a claim, there's nothing that prevents you from hiring an attorney to represent you and help you maximize your recovery from the insurance company.
Yeah, and on top of that, hiring an attorney is probably the most important thing that you're going to do. It's not only about making sure that you have representation for you in regards to an insurance company or whoever a defendant may be, but it's also that we make sure that you have all of your questions answered. You're going to have a lot of questions with what's going on, what do I do, what about my car, what about my property, what about XYZ. You're going to want to contact an attorney like the attorneys here at Turner Monahan to assist you in answering questions about not only whatever accident you may have been in, but also there could be other questions that you may have that we can assist you with.
Can I still file a claim if I did not call the police?
Yeah, so if you didn't call the police, if there's an accident, just because you don't call them doesn't mean you're unable to file a claim. A claim is based upon numerous variables, and definitely the only variable is not whether or not you call the police. There are a lot of instances where people call the police and the police never show up and there's no way to get a report. Now, we would encourage you to call the police and to get a report done because that may assist you in the future with whatever claim you may have, but it's definitely not going to preclude you from being able to actually file a claim.
That's certainly true. There's numerous ways and different types of evidence to prove liability in a case, and a police report is certainly not required.
Do I need pictures or video from the accident to prove my case?
Videos and photos and other evidence from the scene of the crash or from the vehicles involved in a crash are certainly key evidence that we would like to have in every case. With that said, the fact that you do not have them doesn't mean you don't have a case. Sometimes people are just too injured to take that kind of stuff. So you should never let the fact that you don't have videos or photographs make you think that you don't have a case.
Yeah, and each crash is different. It's a thumbprint. You know, there may be a crash where you're unable to actually take the pictures, as Matt said. There could be instances where you're able to take the pictures and you're able to get the videos and possibly even other things that go on afterwards, people possibly making statements about what occurred. Who knows what it might be. If you're able to take videos and photos of the crash, it is something that may benefit you, but if you can't do it, it won't preclude you from filing a claim, and it certainly doesn't preclude you from contacting Turner Monahan to assist you in any crash you may have.
What if I didn't get the other driver's insurance information?
Not having the other driver's insurance information is in no way a bar to pursuing a claim against a negligent driver or another negligent individual. While it sometimes makes things a little easier, an experienced personal injury attorney like those at Turner Monahan have other ways of obtaining that information, and sometimes it requires the filing of a lawsuit to eventually obtain that information. But the fact that you as an injured individual do not have that insurance information should not stop you from pursuing your claim.
And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier in regards to contacting an attorney. Whoever you end up contacting, hopefully you provide Turner Monahan the opportunity to represent you in your crash case, but whoever it might be, those attorneys will be able to answer questions like that. And those are the questions that you want to have for attorneys of, hey, I don't have photos, I don't have videos, I didn't get in touch with the person who did this, they fled the scene, but I got their license plate. All of those different things are going to assist you in moving forward with your case, and it's valuable information that we can then utilize, as Matt said, to try to find out, track down who may have been involved in the crash or the accident.
If I didn't go to the hospital right away, will that hurt my case?
So not going to the hospital immediately after an accident in which you were injured or in a motor vehicle crash is not going to preclude you from bringing a claim. More importantly, it's very common, especially in motor vehicle crashes, oftentimes with your adrenaline pumping and with the kind of emotion that's running high, people don't feel that bad. However, it's very common that they wake up the next day and all of a sudden they realize they are in pain, they have injuries, and they need treatment. With all that said, we would recommend that individuals who have been involved in an accident or a motor vehicle crash seek medical attention, because not all injuries are always apparent right away. And the earlier you receive treatment will not only be beneficial to your claim later, it can also be very beneficial to your overall recovery.
Right. And again, going back to the contacting of an attorney, not if you are injured to the point where you have to go to the hospital, you may not be able to do that. Maybe your family's able to do it, but you'd want to contact an attorney who can answer questions for you about, should I go to the doctor? I don't really feel like this hurts, but this occurred. Should I contact my doctor? Should I go to the hospital? An attorney can at least help and advise you as to what they've seen in previous cases, because as Matt said, you may wake up the next day and not realize that your neck is hurting, your back is hurting, your leg or your arm, or maybe you're experiencing dizziness or other cognitive dysfunctions that you just didn't actually have at the time of the crash.
And that kind of goes with this question. What happens if injuries don't show up for days or weeks later?
So it is not unusual for injuries to take some time to show themselves after a crash. We are well aware and used to dealing with cases like that, where insurance companies will take the position that, well, you weren't really injured because you didn't go see a doctor immediately. But the reality is that's just how some injuries are, and you need an experienced attorney like Tyler or myself who can help you and give you guidance in fighting back against those arguments from the insurance company and building a case that concretely demonstrates that, yes, you were really injured in this incident, it wasn't your fault, and you do deserve compensation for it.
Agreed.
What if the other driver admitted they were at fault at the scene of the crash, but then changes their mind later on?
That's not uncommon for there to be people making claims, and sometimes people feel bad and they'll make statements of, I'm sorry, I did it, it was all my fault. And then maybe they speak to an attorney and all of a sudden they change their tune, or they may automatically start saying, I didn't do it, it was your fault, etc., etc. That also relates back to calling of the police, possibly taking videos and or photos if possible of the crash scene. And if you're not able to do it, if somebody's with you, they're able to do it. But just because somebody says that they were either at fault or they weren't at fault, that is not the end-all be-all conclusion. That's probably more of an emotional statement that somebody's making at that time. You agree?
I do. They should know that the fact that that person made that statement and then said something else is certainly something that we as attorneys would put in front of a jury to let them know, hey, right when this happened, this person said it was their fault. Now they're telling a different story.
Right, which goes to the credibility of the person who's making the statement as well, which could very well end up assisting your case, not only if it's in front of a jury, but also if we're looking to try to, settle something with an insurance company as well. It's their own client making a liability statement that they were the ones at fault.
Exactly.
What if the police report for the crash has mistakes or they left out important information?
Police reports that contain errors are not uncommon. Most police reports tend to be fairly accurate, but finding errors in them, and sometimes significant errors, are not unusual. And finding police reports that are accurate as to what they say, but omit key facts, are surprisingly common. And it's important that you discuss the police report with your attorney and talk to them about why you think that police report isn't accurate, to allow them to use the tools they have to build a case that can explain to both the insurance company and, if necessary, a judge and a jury, why what this police report says either isn't accurate or doesn't tell the whole story.
Agreed.
Do I need witnesses that saw the car crash for my claim to be strong?
It's not always required that you have to have witnesses that have saw the crash to make your case stronger or to even have a case. But obviously, if there are witnesses those witnesses will make statements that bode in your favor, that's going to assist with any claim that you may have. Do you agree with that?
I completely agree with that. In the hectic atmosphere after a crash, it can be hard to remember to get the information from those witnesses, but it's something that people should try and do. With that said, the reality is that there are many crashes where the only witnesses are the individuals that are involved in them. So those are type of cases that we handle all the time.
Right. Unfortunately, it's human nature that you see an accident while everybody does the old term rubbernecking and watches it. Not a lot of people stop and get out of their car and say things. Now, there are good Samaritans who see a major accident or something like that, and they get out of their car to see where they can assist. But just because you don't have that, that does not preclude you from having a claim, and it may not even make your claim any weaker. It's all obviously going to depend on the totality of the circumstances.
Can I use my dash cam footage or security camera videos in the area as evidence?
Yes, video evidence both from your own vehicle or from your own cell phone is very commonly used, as are videos and stills from third-party cameras, such as surveillance cameras from buildings and other things. It's important that you hire attorneys who will take the time to work up your case and to go track down that video from especially third parties that aren't involved in the crash, because sometimes that can be key video that prevents insurance companies especially from trying to shift liability to the individual.
Speaking of technology and videos and recordings, and you touched on something about cars as well, isn't it true that also there are experts and people that can go take a car and download information and get things from the onboard computer to where they can attempt to, I don't want to say completely recreate the accident, but at least they can provide information that assists in determining, how fast a car was traveling, what was going on, etc. before the crash?
Yes, as vehicles get more complicated and add more computer systems and especially more sensors that detect other objects and that have front and rear view cameras, depending on the vehicle, many of them now not only capture speed and impact data, but many of them have now started to capture actual photos from in front of and behind the vehicle immediately and right after the crash, which can be invaluable evidence for your case. It does make it important, however, that you're hiring a personal injury attorney like you and I here at Turner Monahan, who have the resources and will invest in experts to obtain that information, because it has to be done very soon after a crash. And it does cost money. And so you need an attorney who's willing to believe in your case and invest in your case like we are.
Agreed.
Is there any other kind of evidence that a person in a car crash should be trying to collect immediately when that happens?
Anything related to the crash should be preserved. It can be, a part of the car that broke off that might show how the impact occurred. It should also be potentially even data in your cell phone. There are a myriad of different types of evidence to be collected. Individuals should, of course, be keeping all of their medical records, any receipts from any cost or expenses they've incurred as a result of the crash, but they should be collecting as much material and information as they have, because the more of that available to their attorney, the more their attorney can assist them in building a strong case, which hopefully may result in a reasonable settlement from the insurance company and avoiding protracted litigation.
And that goes back to what we were talking about with contacting an attorney as quickly as possible. Those are all little tidbits and knowledge that the attorney can provide to you of, hey, okay, you were in this accident, but your car is at this impound or at this location, either yourself, if you're able to do it, or maybe have a husband, wife, friend, family member. They're going to go out, take some pictures, get information, get anything that might be in the car that is going to be able to be turned over to your attorney, or at least provided to your attorney for them to take a look at and advise as to whether or not that's something that's going to assist you with the crash. And Matt and I here at Turner Monahan, we have experience doing that on a daily basis with our clients.
Yes.
How does somebody contact you after a car crash?
The easiest way to contact us is go to our website at tumolaw.com, or which our phone number's on there, and there's a little button you can push for call now, or you contact us at 817-332-4477. And we have a whole personal injury division where we'll get you in on the phone with one of our paralegals and then with one of the attorneys to get things set up and get things moving forward and listen to what you have to say and try to give you the best advice that we have at that time.
And again, our goal is to take the weight of the legal and technical parts of a claim and the stress that comes with dealing with an insurance off of your shoulders so that you can focus on getting better, getting the treatment you need, and focusing on yourself and your family.
Agreed.
Is there any cost to that first call that I have with you?
There is no cost to reaching out to Turner Monahan to discuss a personal injury case. Further, if we represent you in a personal injury case, there are no upfront fees or expenses of any kind, and you only pay us if we obtain a recovery for you in your case.
That's correct.